The Palisades WBL was a wiffle ball league started in 2009 by Brett Bevilacqua. The league really began to take off in 2012 when the location was moved from a makeshift field to a wiffle complex of sorts at Cottage Lane in Blauvelt, New York. From then till 2018, the league would flourish, bringing in hundreds and hundreds of players, pioneering different media outlets for wiffs, and going from underdog to king of fast-pitch wiffle ball on the East Coast. However, the Palisades would come crumbling down in lackluster fashion after the 2018 season when Brett moved away from New York, and then after a makeshift 2019 season, the league would officially be defunct, leaving the fast-pitch scene in a type of limbo once again. While it remains largely untalked about today, I believe the Palisades holds a very important legacy and place in wiffle ball history, and that's what we are going to talk about today. So pop some popcorn, crack a cold one, tell your girlfriend you are not going out today because it's time to cover some wiffs history. In order to show just how essential Palisades was and how it gained such prominence, I think it's necessary that I first establish the dire straits fast-pitch wiffle ball was in at the time. 2014 was effectively the last regular season GSWL hosted a pro fast-pitch tournament circuit and NCT after being the torchbearer post the end of Fast Plastic. It's easy to forget that in 2015 and 2016, there really was no fast-pitch wiffle ball besides the end-of-the-year draft tournament hosted by Golden Stick, which, I'm sorry Black Dog and 603, but those are not national championships. In 2017, Fast Plastic announced its soft reboot, which was a success, and it would be an injustice to say that the 2017, 2018, and 2019 NCTs were letdowns, but they had neither the turnout or presentation of the glory days of GSWL and Fast Plastic wiffle ball. So at the time, say from 2015 to 2019, the traditional East Coast fast-pitch wiffle ball tournament circuit was effectively dead, or at least on a large scale. Except one league that stood its ground and excelled more than ever, and that was the Palisades. The question is, how? Well, I think that success is owed, maybe not entirely, but for the most part, to Brett Bevilacqua. In 2022, Brett's legacy in wiffs is very complicated. He has had numerous online disputes with people in the community. There was the whole failed Whiff Kings project, and ever since his departure from Palisades after the 2018 season, he has been essentially MIA and out of the community, seemingly by choice. For myself, I haven't talked to Brett in about 2 years. Hope you're doing well, Brett, but since his departure, I think certain people unfairly dogpile resentment on him for all the wrong reasons. To those people that are going to post a monologue on Twitter about how Whiff Kings fell apart, about how the documentary never happened, or whatever, grow up. A few failed projects doesn't discount the massive positives Brett gave wiffle ball. As someone who worked in TV for years, Brett revolutionized media in wiffs. He created Yard Work, a documentary that encompassed wiffs across the country. He was the first to introduce player highlight reels, and as far as I know, he was the first to really commit to live streaming games week in and week out on platforms such as Periscope and Facebook Live. Palisades also introduced an online store selling basic equipment to start your own field, an ESPN-like stat system that worked incredibly well called Scuff Stats, and a precursor to the drop, the Palisades had its own online publication called the Whiff Hot Stove, which featured a variety of writers that were involved in the league that wrote articles on league headlines, power rankings, etc. And we haven't even mentioned the crown jewel of Palisades media, This Month in Wiffle Ball, a monthly show that recapped critical headlines and performances of each team in the league. It was the first time that you didn't have to be living on the East Coast to follow a season of wiffs action. There is no doubt in my mind that This Month in Wiffle Ball helped inspire a new generation of wifflers, including myself. Each one of these aspects Brett played a major role in, and while they are essential to the story of Palisades, they are secondary to the impact the league had on its own. As mentioned before, when fast pitch began to falter up and down the East Coast, Palisades stood alone. There were a couple of differences between traditional fast pitch play and the Palisades, notably the bucket of balls, different count of 5 balls a walk, and the 2 games a week regular season schedule as opposed to tournament circuit play. But the differences either didn't seem to matter or were liked by the community because players flocked to play at Palisades. I remember in the past many guys gloating that Palisades' best days were when Golden Stick players began to play there, which I think is kind of ignorant. The homegrown talent of Palisades had at the most half of the playing experience of the GSWL players who transferred over, and the Palisades homegrown players were still able to hold their own. Plus, it speaks to the strength of the league at the time when you look at the talent they were able to pull back then. But the GSWL players that transferred later on is really a footnote compared to the homegrown talent that Palisades cultivated into Wiffs. To prove this point, here's a list of a few names that started or played their first full seasons in the Palisades and are currently traveling circuit players on the East Coast. Ryan and Tim McGillrath, Nick and Vin Lee, Scott Fleeser, Rich Galad, Sean Ryan, Johnny Costa, Kyle Von Slossagen, Devin Torres, Garrett Torres, Kenny Stingle. However, these names aside, I think it's a strong point to argue that without Palisades, a lot of the established East Coast names fall out of the game and probably don't come back. Life happens, and if Palisades wasn't there to offer a place to play back then, do you still have guys like Kenny Rogers Jr., Whiffman, Gerard Fitzgerald, Jordan Robles, and Anthony Didio playing Wiffs in 2022? I'm not too sure. However, hypothetical musings aside, at the end of the day, Palisades played a pivotal role in keeping fast-pitch wiffle ball alive on the East Coast, as well as cultivating a new generation of wiffle players and fans. All this while at the same time pushing the envelope for the online and social media content for a league, and showing that a Wiffs league could develop a strong online following week in and week out throughout the course of a season. To close, I know in this video I didn't cover everything regarding the league, and this was kind of an outside view perspective on the league. That being said, as the sport of Wiffs begins to progress and move forward, I think it's important to keep the history of the game alive, and I wanted to make this video to kind of cover what I see as being the positive legacy that Palisades WBL will leave behind in the past decade. But what do you think about the ever interesting history of the Palisades WBL? Please tell me down below in the comments. I would love to know. As for myself, please drop a like and subscribe to Wiffle Statement for top tier content on Wiffs across the country. You can also follow me on Twitter, where I've been posting a lot lately, so be sure to go check that out. That's gonna do it for me, guys. Get out there and play some Wiffs, and I will be talking to you guys soon. Goodbye.